What happens when a smug judge mocks two women in his courtroom, thinking he holds all the power? Little did he know, they were elite U.S. Army veterans ready to flip the script. What happened next left the entire courtroom speechless. The air felt electric, thick with anticipation, the kind of atmosphere that makes your heart race, even if you're just watching. Conversations hushed the moment the double doors opened, revealing Ebony and Ivy Coleman. Identical twins, yes, but far from ordinary. Ebony, immaculate in her white blouse, and Ivy in a tailored navy blazer, walked with purpose, each step commanding attention. Their heels echoed on the polished floor, a slow drum roll marking their arrival. They weren't here to cause a scene, at least not on purpose, but their goal was clear: challenge an unjust eviction notice. Simple, right? But nothing about this courtroom, or the man sitting smugly at the plaintiff's table, suggested simplicity. The landlord, a balding man with a permanent sneer etched on his face, leaned in to whisper to his lawyer. Whatever he said, it made his lips curl into a grin that would make anyone's blood boil. As the twins reached their table, a low murmur rippled through the gallery. Curiosity mixed with quiet judgment. Judge Randall Grayson silenced it with one sharp rap of his gavel. Infamous for his abrasive demeanor and rulings often favoring the privileged, his reputation preceded him, and his narrow-eyed glare only cemented it. Scanning the twins from head to toe, his expression was dripping with disdain. When he finally spoke, his voice was laced with condescension. "Ladies," he drawled, dragging out the word as if it were bitter. "Do you think dressing like you're at a corporate seminar will impress this court? Perhaps you're confused about the difference between a courtroom and a fashion show." The gallery chuckled, not loud, but enough to sting. Ebony's hands clenched into fists under the table, but Ivy gave her sister a quick glance, a silent message to stay calm. "Not now, don't take the bait." The hearing began, but it didn't take long for Grayson to show his true colors, interrupting the twins at every opportunity with sarcasm and barely veiled hostility. "Let me guess," he sneered during one of Ivy's points. "You two think you're entitled to special treatment? Maybe you've been watching too much television." Ivy, ever composed, calmly rebutted him with facts, her voice steady and unshaken. Ebony followed, presenting their case with meticulous detail, pointing to the landlord's questionable practices, highlighting the illegal clauses in the eviction notice, and presenting evidence that painted a clear, undeniable picture. Every carefully constructed point seemed to make Grayson's face tighten further, his annoyance bubbling just below the surface. But he wasn't finished. Leaning forward, his gaze cut into them like a blade. "You two may have fooled some people," he said, his tone like ice. "But not me. I can see right through your type." The words hung in the air like a foul stench, and the gallery gasped in shock, collectively taken aback. Ebony's jaw tightened, but Ivy placed a calming hand on her arm. Their eyes met, a silent pact to not let him get to them. The tension in the room was unbearable, like a taut string ready to snap. Every person in the gallery leaned in, waiting to see what the twins would do. But Ebony and Ivy? They stayed calm, their resolve unshaken, despite the storm of injustice swirling around them. The marble lobby of the courthouse was grand, cold, and unforgiving, much like Judge Grayson himself. Ebony and Ivy stood still, the weight of his words hanging over them like a storm cloud. Moments ago, they had entered the courtroom armed with evidence and conviction, but now they were left grappling with the sting of public humiliation, the murmurs, the smirks, the judge's venomous tone, replaying in their minds like a bad song stuck on repeat. Before they could gather their thoughts, a reporter swooped in, sensing fresh prey. A microphone was thrust toward them, the camera's red light blinking like a warning. "Miss Coleman, care to comment on Judge Grayson's remarks?" The reporter's voice was sugary sweet, but her eyes gleamed with hunger for controversy. This wasn't about justice. It was about getting a juicy soundbite. Ebony stepped forward, her jaw set and eyes blazing. But Ivy, ever the strategist, placed a firm hand on her sister's arm. "Not here," she whispered, her voice calm but firm. Ebony hesitated, then stepped back. The reporter frowned, sensing the missed opportunity, but didn't press further. As the twins turned to leave, the sound of deliberate footsteps echoed behind them. They didn't have to look to know who it was. Judge Grayson's presence was unmistakable, like a dark cloud that sucked the air out of the room. Flanked by 2 security guards, he approached with the swagger of a man who believed he owned the courthouse and maybe even justice itself. Well, he drawled, his smirk cutting through the space between them. Running away already? I thought you two had more backbone. Ebony stopped mid-stride and turned slowly, her expression unreadable. But when she spoke, her voice had a sharp edge. We're not running, Judge. We're walking away, because this is beneath us. Grayson's smirk deepened, the kind that makes you want to roll your eyes and throw a dictionary at him all at once. Beneath you? He paused for dramatic effect, narrowing his eyes. I hope you're ready to lose. Ivy, silent up until now, stepped forward. Calm, yet icy, her voice was firm and unyielding. We're not the ones losing, Judge. Your bias is on full display, and it's embarrassing for you. For a split second, the mask slipped. His smirk faltered, replaced by something that looked suspiciously like fear or maybe anger. It was hard to tell. And just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone. He straightened his tie and delivered his parting shot. Watch yourself, young lady. Disrespecting a judge doesn't end well. Ivy held his gaze, unflinching. Neither does disrespecting justice. They didn't wait for a response. The twins turned and walked away, their heels clicking in perfect sync with each other. But as they reached the courthouse steps, Ebony's composure cracked. Who does he think he is? She hissed, pacing near the curb. He thinks he's untouchable, Ivy. He doesn't even know who we are. Ivy leaned against the car, arms crossed, watching her sister with a small, knowing smile. Finally, she spoke, her voice low and deliberate. Then maybe it's time we remind him. Ebony stopped pacing, her frustration giving way to curiosity. What are you thinking? Ivy's smile widened, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Oh, you'll see. The courtroom was electric with anticipation. Every seat was filled, and those who couldn't find a spot lined the back wall, craning their necks for a better view. The twins' first encounter with Judge Grayson had become the talk of the town, and the public was hungry for more. The moment Ebony and Ivy Coleman entered, carrying a duffel bag between them, the energy shifted. The tension was palpable, the kind that makes you hold your breath without realizing it. Judge Grayson, perched high on the bench, looked less than thrilled. The increased attention seemed to irritate him, though he tried to mask it with his usual air of superiority. Leaning forward, he spoke with a thin smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Miss Coleman, he began, sarcasm dripping from his voice, I trust you're ready to continue wasting this court's time? Ivy, always the picture of composure, stepped forward. Her voice sliced through the murmurs like a knife. Actually, Your Honor, we'd like to submit new evidence. Grayson arched an eyebrow, his expression shifting between curiosity and annoyance. New evidence, he echoed. And what exactly would that be? Ebony unzipped the duffel bag with deliberate precision. The room fell silent, save for the sound of the zipper. She pulled out a neatly organized stack of documents, a handful of glossy photographs, and a tablet. This, she said firmly, placing the items on the defense table. And this, the gallery leaned forward in unison, eyes wide with curiosity. The court clerk approached, taking the tablet from Ebony and connecting it to the courtroom's projector. Seconds later, the screen at the front of the room came to life. The first clip showed Ebony and Ivy in full U.S. Army tactical gear, leading a training exercise with precision and authority. The footage transitioned to images of the twins coordinating humanitarian missions in disaster zones, uniforms covered in dust but their resolve unshaken. Another clip showed them instructing soldiers in advanced combat techniques, their commands unwavering. The room erupted into whispers. Even the landlord, who had been smugly observing, seemed taken aback. But Judge Grayson? His face drained of color, and for a fleeting moment, the mask of control slipped. You failed to do your homework, Judge, Ebony said, her voice cold and unrelenting. We've served this country in ways you can't even imagine, and now we're serving justice. Starting with you? The judge opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, Ivy stepped in, holding up a folder. But that's not all. We've uncovered evidence that your star witness, the landlord, has been falsifying documents and engaging in blatant racial discrimination with his rental policies. She turned to the landlord's lawyer, her gaze sharp enough to cut glass. Care to explain? The landlord's lawyer stammered, trying to form a coherent response, but Ivy didn't give him the chance. We have receipts, literally, she continued, flipping open the folder to reveal pages of incriminating paperwork, bank transfers, fake notices, and a lovely little paper trail of unlawful activities. Grayson's gavel slammed down with force, echoing through the room. That's enough, he barked, but his voice lacked its usual authority. The gallery wasn't listening to him anymore. They were buzzing with shock and outrage. The tension reached its peak, and Grayson's next move was clear to everyone. Reluctantly, he announced his recusal from the case, a public admission of defeat, a blow to his carefully curated image. The landlord, meanwhile, was left stammering as the possibility of criminal charges loomed over him. When the twins finally walked out of the courthouse, the crowd outside erupted in cheers, reporters swarming with cameras flashing. But Ebony and Ivy ignored them, their focus unbroken. As they reached their car, Ebony allowed herself a rare smirk. "He'll think twice before underestimating anyone again," she said, tossing the duffel bag into the trunk. Ivy smiled back, her eyes gleaming with quiet satisfaction. "And if he doesn't, we'll be here to remind him."